And now, it's about that time.
Pre-record on my count. 7, 6, 5, 4. Here we go, Roger.
With the coach, Mickey Clayton on Insights. Two eyes in the middle. INSiiGHTS, where we always talk the talk.
1, 2, talk that talk. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be transparent. This is the second take of this interview because I didn't click the appropriate button to start it. And I know that my time is always precious when I have the guest that I have who's a friend of the program, and that is John T. Grant. I call him Sir Grant because he has the longest title in professional sports. He's the executive director of the Cricket Celebration Bowl, Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge Kickoff, and Band of the Year competition, which still doesn't grasp all of what he does. John, welcome to the show yet again.
Thank you, Mickey. You know, I'm always delighted to be here with you. We've known each other for a long time, and certainly anytime you call on me, I'm there.
And I appreciate that, John, because those words have been true. We do cover you, we talk to you, we get insight into what's going on with the programs. And one of the things that I wanted you to do a little bit was to kind of explain a little bit how the MEAC SWAC Challenge Kickoff evolved, because you ought to be coming up on maybe 20 years of doing this now.
That's correct. Well, the game was founded in 2005. Working with the ESPN events at that time, working with the commissioner of the MEAC, which was Dennis Thomas, and the commissioner of the SWAC, Commissioner Valve, brought together this event, which was designed to give the champions of the conferences a bowl experience, and it was at the beginning of the season. As you know, at that time, the MEAC was sending their champion to the FCS playoffs, and certainly the SWAC had their own SWAC championship. So this game was started at the beginning of the season, just like a bowl game. It was a 3-day event, 3-day spectacle of events and dinners and things for the student athletes and guests and fans. It moved out of Birmingham after 3 years down to Orlando. And it was in Orlando, played at the what was the Citrus Bowl, now Camping World Stadium, but it was played there until 2016. In 2016, ESPN Events moved it to, it was going to go campus to campus. So it was at Bethune-Cookman. It was a Bethune versus Alcorn game that year, but the game was called due to lightning. So the game was never really finished. And the following year in 2017, the game went to Southern University, where Southern took on South Carolina State in a very close game. And the year after that, it was going to go to Durham with a Grambling versus North Carolina Central contest that didn't occur. So ESPN was looking to potentially discontinue the game because it was, wasn't doing well at the time, and we had just launched the Celebration Bowl in 2015, and a lot of energy was being put into that and to get it up and going. And we offered to ESPN at the time to, let us bring the game to Atlanta. Give us 3 years to turn it around. If we didn't, certainly, have to make business decisions. So we moved to Atlanta in 2018, and the first game in Atlanta was Prairie View A&M against North Carolina Central. Was the very first game here in 2018, and since that time, we were actually able to turn it around in 2 years. And as you can see, behind me was last year's game, which featured South Carolina State and Jackson State. This year, we're delighted that this year's game will again kick off the college football season in week 0, and we're going to feature Florida A&M, and Norfolk State.
Wow. For all of that history, you did a really good job of putting that in a really good synopsis. Because my next question was going to be, and you almost answered it, was how did ESPN get involved with this contest?
Well, it was a conversation with Dennis Thomas and at that time Pete Dursis about putting something, because by then what was the Heritage Bowl had become defunct after 9 years. That game, which it was designed to be a bowl game to have the champions of each conference, but the MEAC was again sending their champion to the FCS playoffs, and so there was only 1 year out of the 9 years that the game was played that the MEACs actually sent their champion, and the game ultimately then folded after 9 years, and so it sort of manifested itself out of those conversations.
Okay, now you're an Aggie and a proud Aggie, North Carolina A&T, for those of you who might not know. But you deal with so many colleges and institutions and presidents, athletic director, football coaches, booster club, and support. How do you manage to be as objective as you are? Because, I know about that Aggie pride. I mean, so how do you handle that and still be objective with everything that you're doing?
Well, because of the greater good. We're blessed to have the opportunity to do something that can raise the water in the pond, certainly for the Division I conferences, MEAC and SWAC, along with the Division II conferences, SIAC and CIAA, and then our other conferences as well, NAIE conferences as well. So for me, although I did go to North Carolina A&T, my larger loyalty is to the spirit of historically Black colleges and universities. So when they win, we all win.
And you have shown that, I mean, and being the personality that you are and meeting so many different people, as you look back and reflect, is there a particular game in the challenge that kind of stands out to you, or performance that stands out to you that you kind of sit there and say, wow, we really did something there?
I would have to say it would be in 2021. In 2021, we convinced ESPN that we need to move the MEAC SWAC Challenge out of Labor Day weekend into week 0. And that was the first year that the game was played in week 0 to get it out of all the competition that was happening on that day. When the MEAC SWAC Challenge was founded, there were no games played on that Sunday. I mean, there was no college football, right. And the NFL didn't play on that weekend, and so it was a game on that Sunday by itself. By the time we moved, there were 7 to 8 games being played on that day. So moving it to week 0 also opened up the opportunity for other assets that ESPN were not utilizing, that they didn't utilize until week 1. And one of the biggest assets was College Game Day. So having College Game Day here to open up, college football in week 0 at a game where Alcorn State and North Carolina Central were playing. Alcorn was certainly the favorite. They had just come out of the 2019 Celebration Bowl, were favored to win. Everyone on the panel of Game Day, the host, selected Alcorn to win, and it was a game where North Carolina Central actually eked them out. So it was a great game, sort of an upset, if you would, but also having College Game Day here made it very, very special.
Now, you say that pretty much with a straight face, but I remember all the excitement that went around that game and Game Day. I mean, and I'm kind of glad you picked that as a crowning achievement. But to be on Game Day is significant for HBCU sports?
It really was, and it was really exciting for us because that was the only time in the history of the MEAC SWAC Challenge that we had college game day there, and the fact that we were also a part of being in week 0 opening college football, the season, not just HBCU football, but all of college football, and having the #1 college football show on site here in Atlanta made that very just a significant. It was the second time in the history of game day that it actually was on, a part of an HBCU game. The first time was at Florida A&M, actually. I can't recall the year, but this was the second time that it was but the first time at a neutral site for HBCUs.
Well, how did you go from doing the kickoff, then you included the Celebration Bowl, and most recently you added the band competition? I mean, you pretty much run the gamut from the beginning of the season all the way through. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we're proud of the fact that HBCU football. I'm almost, I tell people today that we're in the golden age of historically Black colleges and universities. There's more exposure today for HBCU football than there has ever been in the history of the sport on our campuses. And with that being said, we're always looking to how can we improve the experience of fans? How can we make sure that we're more inclusive in the process? And I was asked a number of times, about the possibility of a Division II, doing double headers and a Division II game before, leading into the Celebration Bowl. And the idea that one of the significant aspects of the HBCU football experience is also our halftime shows and marching bands. And I consider those students to also student musicians to also be athletes. I mean, we've watched them practice. You've watched them rehearse. The amount of time and effort that they put in to developing and sharpening their skills, not only musically, but athletically and their marching skills. So, I was talking to a friend of mine, Don Roberts, who's a Florida A&M graduate, who's probably in my mind the foremost expert on HBCU marching bands in the country. I mean, Don is just outstanding, and I've had the privilege of working with him on a number of things over the years. But just floated the idea by him about creating a season-long competition where we could actually crown a champion, a national champion for HBCU marching bands. Our battles of the bands are great entertainment prospects and showcases, but they are invitationals and they are showcases. And we wanted to create something that made every performance that you had during the season count. That whenever you're on the field, it's just like a football game. Players get out there, they put their all in because that game matters, with a win or loss, and this matters. Regardless of who you're performing against the field across, you want to get out there and leave nothing, and leave everything on the field.
Wow. John, as you sit back and look at all of this and all the things that you've done and have accomplished, what is it about this game that's coming up here in a couple weeks? What is it about this game that really has you excited?
Well, I'm excited because we've got some firsts with this game. This is the first time that we've had a returning HBCU national champion, Celebration Bowl champion, returning, as the champion. So Florida A&M defeated Howard in a great game in this past year's Cricket Celebration Bowl. So they are opening the season as the reigning national champion. So, and having the national champion here in Atlanta to open the season is a first for us. The second thing is that their rival Norfolk State, this is their first time actually playing in Atlanta. So they're opening their season with the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge kickoff game on their first trip to play in Atlanta against the current reigning national champion. So we have all kinds of energy around both of those firsts.
And you said something there, because in doing the research, we see Norfolk State alumni, they have really been pushing this game with coming to Atlanta and the different activities that they have. And I remember one of Florida A&M University's past athletic directors said, man, when you go to Atlanta, it takes on a life of its own. Our FAMU fans, everybody kind of has their own thing, where they're going, where they're shopping, where they're going to eat, because of their familiarity with Atlanta and the Atlanta Classic. But it just seems that when I saw Norfolk State on there, they really are expending a lot of energy to draw people to Atlanta. And now that you've said it's their first time, I understand why.
Well, the excitement, I think, coming out of Norfolk, now that I think I was there for the MEAC Media Day, the excitement in Norfolk of opening the season here for them is real. And of course, the excitement with Florida A&M, Atlanta's the second home. I call it Tallahassee North, the
Rattlers do too.
It's always huge there. So the energy around this year is exciting, but also the most, what's a part of that, Mickey, that's important for us. This year, ESPN is launching a series. It's called Saturday Night College Football, live on ABC, with our new deal with the SEC, ESPN's new deal. And so this game is opening college football as a part of that series. Saturday Night College Football, live on ABC. It's a primetime game, 7:30 p.m. On ABC, and it opens the season to kick off the college football season. So it's very exciting for all of us.
But tell us a little bit more about that. You said Saturday College Football live on ABC. Tell us about that some more.
Saturday night college football live on ABC. It's ESPN has the media rights deal now with the SEC, and we can all recall the what was the SEC on CBS Saturday games, football games. ESPN is dubbing. We'll have those games, but we're also adding SEC games on Saturday night in prime time, and so it's being labeled as Saturday Night College Football live on ABC.
Now, one of the things I can't underestimate or undervalue is the fact that the contests that are played in Atlanta that ESPN has also provides a financial benefit to the participating institutions and conferences that are that make a meaningful dent or influx into our athletic budgets. This is not something that's taken lightly by ESPN in terms of how they've approached the HBCUs in attendance. And you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, it is important, and we all know that for in this case, our schools play what are dubbed as money games against major conferences and institutions to help support budgets. This game, however, allows you to play like competition. But more importantly, and where it really makes a difference, is that the game, when you think about a primetime game on network television and the idea of what that does for your institution beyond just the direct payout, in my mind, regardless of the amount of money, the bigger play is what it provides in terms of exposure for your school, recruiting of students, not football players, but what that does to the application of the students that are interested in universities, the opportunities for athletic departments and presidents to use that also as a driving force for fundraising from your alumni. If you think about it as church, We go to church on Sunday. The pastor gives a great sermon, and immediately following the sermon, they pass the plate. They don't pass the plate when you walk in the door. They pass the plate after you have been, uplifted with a message from the pastor. And that's what being on network television and playing in a game like this does. It's an uplift. It is the sermon. And those institutions, specifically the major institutions, have learned this some time ago, that fundraising is a constant effort. And you do it when your fans are most excited. And during these games, fans are most excited, and that's the best time when you want to ask them to support the key initiatives of the institution.
I'm gonna have to change that, Sir John, to Pastor Grant. That was that was pretty good there, John. I appreciate that, and always the insight that you provide into these games and how it benefits the institutions in so many levels. As we all know, athletics is merely the front porch for your institution, and your recruitment of students and your enrollment figures, it kind of goes along with the success, especially in the South, of your football programs. And
well, think of this. Drake University did a study, Mickey, and when Nick Saban came to Alabama, 27% of their incoming freshman class were out-of-state students, paying 2.5 times more than in-state students. Mm-hmm. So by 2016, he had won 3 national championships. And by that time, 63% of the incoming freshman class were out-of-state students, paying 2.5 times more than in-state students. That is, not just because it is partially because Alabama was winning, but because Alabama was perpetually on television. And so the university did a fantastic job of utilizing the tool of television, not just to say we're on TV, that's great, but television and having their games on TV became a tremendous tool. And even in his retirement, when he left, Nick, it was indicated that the student population at Alabama had risen by nearly 20,000 from where it was when he came in. Wow. Not applications, but actual students on campus had risen nearly 20,000 during his period there. And what that meant in terms of how they utilized, the tool of television to recruit students and continue to raise funding for the institution.
Oh, that's a significant increase in that. And one of the things in closing, I'd like for you to hit on one more thing I'd like for you to touch on is that one of the things I know in conversation with you is that we tried to establish these as must-go events, must-attend events, regardless of the institutions, that you go to the Rose Bowl, you go to the Orange Bowl, you go to different events because of the event around it. And I know that you worked very hard to put a number of events in place in Atlanta, as I told you, grown people event that they like to go to and attend. Talk a little bit about some of the things that you have around the game itself. For those people who like to get in the city early, it's a lot for you to do.
Well, the beautiful thing is when you're in Atlanta, you don't have to create a lot. I mean, Atlanta itself is an entertainment mecca, from restaurants to shopping to theater to nightclubs. Just about anyone that also probably has a relative in the city. So there's family. There isn't much that we specifically have to do, but to create an environment for fans to be entertained. Atlanta offers that. We do, however, the biggest component around this game that's open for the public is our Coca-Cola fan experience on Saturday from 3 until 7. At just outside of this stadium here that we have. It's a spectacular event. It's not what you would consider like a typical tailgate at all. It's far more experiential than just what a tailgate would be, and we, our fans love it so much. So make it last year, we had to really, fans didn't leave until 1 o'clock in the morning.
What?
because they were out there engaging and partying, enjoying the food and music and so forth before the game, came in to the game. After the game, they walked right out of the gate and picked up again and continued until about 1 a.m. So that tells you that for us, we're constantly focused, laser focused on how we create, a quality experience for our attendees, a world-class experience that they would not get anywhere else if they went to any other game. It's just going to be different here. And that's what we work on. And our team does a fantastic job. Very proud of my team who do, a lot of the great work to make that into reality.
Once again, that's an excellent commentary, John. And, the way that you handle these things in these interviews, each time I do them with you, you allow us to provide extra information to the fans about what this event and the things that you're involved with, what it's actually about. And it's about the HBCU experience and the growth of the individual institutions.
Well, we're fortunate, Mickey, that we're in Wakanda. That when Atlanta is Wakanda. And this is the best place for what I would call our HBCU schools. If you look at them as tribes, what a better place than for our tribes to converge in a place like Atlanta, where I would call, where they say in Atlanta the players play, and I love being here. I think that what we do here in Atlanta is called not only that, the college football capital of the South, the offerings that the city has, the energy that's here. And the city it's a Black city. I mean, so you look at the fact that we, it's led by African American people, our mayor, our city officials, government officials, and you can the energy just being around us here in Atlanta is different than anywhere else. And so that's why we build the enterprise here. That's why you can look at the picture behind me. Those are not all Jackson State and South Carolina State fans by far. To fill up a venue like this means you have to have a lot of people coming from a lot of institutions to be a part, a lot of schools to be a part of this experience that we're creating. That's second to none among HBCUs.
Well, I say we're living in Wakanda. Boy, I like that one. Leave it to Sir John to come through with an original line there. I like that. I think that's going to be a tagline for us. As always, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you appreciate what we've brought to you by talking with John T. Grant, Executive Director of everything. He just does a really, really good job in terms of being able to explain this to you, for letting you feel the excitement and the joy and the pride in what he works for ESPN and the HBCU institutions that he has known almost every president, AD, football coach. He's had to deal with all of them and has done so well. John, anything you'd like to say in closing leading up to this contest or leading up to the Celebration Bowl at the end of the season?
Well, we have, Mickey, first let me thank you and all of our media that focuses on what happens in HBCUs. You guys were keeping the lights on when no one else was really paying attention. And you continue to keep the lights on and amplifying what's being done in the HBCU space on a regular basis. Now, everyone is getting on the bandwagon, and that's a wonderful thing. And we appreciate that because it makes a difference for our universities. And so opening college football with the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge and having the opportunity to have our institutions at center stage. We're at center stage this year in prime time again on ABC. So if you can't make it to Atlanta, please tune in. That's equally as important for us, if not more, that you're watching the game. If you can't come to Atlanta, have watch parties. Our ultimate desire is just like with the Super Bowl. Not everyone can come to the game. but millions of people, over 100 million people around the world watch it, and they do it with their friends and their family, etc. And that's exactly the same thing that we're looking to create, not only as we kick off the season, but also as we close the season with the Cricket Celebration Bowl, which, by the way, will be 1 week earlier this year on December the 14th. We have a new date for the Cricket Celebration Bowl, and just excited that fans will be there for that as well.
John, we appreciate you so very much. We appreciate being able to be along for the ride. Mark your calendars, December 14th, Celebration Bowl, regardless of if your school is there or not. It's a place you want to be. Here, John, talk about Atlanta now. It's like living in Wakanda. Thank you, John. I appreciate you being here so much.
Thank you, Mickey. Thanks for having me.
Enterprises, a Florida corporation. This broadcast is produced under the exclusive ownership of MAC4 Enterprises and is the intellectual property and trademark of MAC4 Enterprises. Comments of the host and other individual speakers on INSiiGHTS represent their independent thoughts and representation.